Hey guys, this is another Beatles fan, and here we are with another announcement of John Lennon, of Sean Lennon, I better say, about a new Lennon box set. It's called Power to the People, John, Yoko, and Elephant's Memory Band. I believe it's what it's called. And it's a huge, huge package. I want to comment on some stuff about it and give you guys also the news if you haven't heard. It's an 8 CD package, I believe, and it contains most of what Lennon did in 1972. And if you recall, it's the New York City era where he gathered with Elephant's Memory Band. He wasn't living in the Dakota yet. He was living in another flat in New York City, and it was his most prolific political era, definitely. So it's a huge box set. It kind of encompasses every aspect of that year musically, I believe, and it starts out with the 101 concerts that he did in Madison Square Garden. He had an afternoon and an evening concert, and what Sean did here was make CD1 be a compilation of the best takes of each of the two concerts, and CD2 is the entirety of the afternoon concert. CD3 is the entirety of the evening concert. And well, I haven't watched the 1-to-1 documentary that aired last year. I plan on doing so soon. I didn't get a chance to watch it yet, but it's extremely important for us to have this in pristine audio, well documented, because it's the only full-length Lennon gigs. They're the only full-length Lennon gigs, and that's incredibly valuable, right? I mean, who would have thought that John Lennon, after he quit the Beatles, he'd only throw 2 full gigs for the rest of his life? Of course, we all know what happened, but to me, it's incredible. So it's great that we have this in great audio. It's been released, version of Come Together online on YouTube, and it looks great. It looks fantastic. I believe, I'm not sure if the entire concert's already been remastered because of the 1-to-1 documentary, but it should, you know? And well, besides that, we have the ultimate mixes for the New York City album. And that's the most controversial point right here, because if you think about it, they've already done Plastic Ono Band, the first one, Imagine, the second one, and Mind Games, the fourth one. They have just skipped over New York City, and I believe we all knew what it was about. It was because of a certain song called Woman is the etc. of the world. It's something that kind of comes up. I see it online. It kind of bursts out of the Beatle bubble sometimes. It's a song that sparked controversy at the time of its release, and that's on purpose. But before really diving deep into this, because I do have my 50 cents I want to share with you guys here, I also think that it's partly because New York City was maybe John's weakest album, and especially commercially. People didn't like all his preaching at the time, commercially wise at least, and I think it makes sense business wise to put a package called Lennon Gigs in the Madison Square Garden instead of here a repackaging of the album, Lennon's least commercially successful album, and we have some gigs. So business wise, it's okay, it makes sense. It also includes the evolution mixes for the songs that aren't that are on this new record. I also believe there's another song by Yoko that isn't included I'm not sure which one it is. I'm sorry, I should know this before recording. But let's get back to the woman song thing at the end of the video, because I want to mention the rest of the stuff, including the box set, which I think is incredible. It's something I'm really looking forward to listening, which is Jams with Elephant's Memory, which is a great band, I think. So live jams and live covers and whatever, they're on CDs 5, 6, and 7, I believe, and CDs 8 and 9 are home demos by John. And I believe most of them are already included in bootlegs. I've heard some of them, but I love listening to home demos, home tapes like this. It's one of my favorite things that comes out of these box sets. Let's think about Yellow Submarine, that version where John and Paul sing together. That was a hidden gem of the Revolver Super Deluxe box set. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about the box set, but we gotta talk about the elephant in the room, pun intended, which is Woman is the etc. of the world, the song. And let's think about it first historically, because John Lennon has been dead for 40 years. He's already become a historic figure, so it doesn't make sense for us to analyze this like it's an artist that simply doesn't like a song from his catalog anymore and he removes it from a re-release. That's not what's happening. What's happening is that John's not here with us anymore, and I'm just making this screen better. Okay, John's not with us anymore, which means that we don't know whether he liked the messaging of the song, or maybe he wouldn't be as comfortable with it anymore, because of course things have changed. It's been 50 years, but so we don't know his thoughts about it. So something I've read online quite a lot during this announcement period was people disagreeing with it, and people saying that John's history shouldn't be erased like that, because I wonder what will happen in 100 years. Maybe these box sets will be the things John will be remembered for, and then his huge feminist song will simply be erased. Of course, there's the matter of the N-word. It's there, it's controversial, and it's supposed to be controversial. It's this term of the song title was coined by Yoko herself, and you can have your opinion about if it's in good taste or not. I personally don't vibe with it. I think at the same time, I think it's a word that has a ton of bad connotation and it shouldn't be used. At the same time, I wasn't born in the 70s, so I'm not sure how that was perceived at the time. I know that there was already some controversy, and actually black groups that were in that political craze and that political stance with John, they reached out to him. They mentioned that they agreed with the song, but I think it's in bad taste to compare one kind of suffering, which is women suffering, with black people suffering. They're both shit. Let's not compare it. And that's my opinion on it, but that doesn't mean I don't think it should be erased from it. There's 2 points here. Point number 1 is that we live in a capitalist society, so people should think about business when they're releasing stuff like that and when they're doing stuff like that. And the big corporations like Universal Music, which is the publisher, or I'm not sure what correct term is, but anyway, I'm sure Universal Music didn't want that song to be there, and it's a shame but that's how the world goes, right? And also, I'm pretty sure I've read somewhere online, I believe on Reddit, somebody mentioning that, Sean lost his dad when he was 8. Tons of people had this online discourse about John, that he was a wife beater and whatever, which is something that is historically inaccurate. And John had what I would call a learning phase of his life. He really changed there with Yoko. You can argue anything you want about Yoko, but she did make John a more enlightened person when it comes to social movements and the state of society in general, He became a feminist, and isn't it a great thing that a guy who beat his wife in one occasion, who slapped her, and who was, on his accounts, sexist, he thought about himself, and he decided he didn't want that anymore. He wanted to change, so he became a feminist along with Yoko, and he wrote a feminist song in 1972 as the biggest music star in the world. Isn't that incredible? Isn't that great? Isn't that something that John should be known for? Kind of a redemption arc. People aren't perfect. John, he tried to better himself with that. And I think it's beautiful. I think it's one of the greatest things to come out of this political phase of John's that lasted from 69 to 73, or to when Nixon was elected. I'm not sure when it was exactly, but it's incredible. It's an incredible part of John's history. And I mean that also in regard to other political stances that he took. Considering who John was, historically we know that image of John's, of a guy from his time, from 1960, a bit way more close-minded than Paul ever was. If everything we've heard is true, history-wise, of all the books we've read and that were published, that's a fact. So John having this redemption arc is something that shouldn't be erased from history. That's my main takeaway. Although, again, coming back to my point that I didn't finish, I do understand that maybe Sean doesn't want more controversy with his dad, because the internet is the internet. People won't read a fucking book. People don't understand shit. They just want to preach about something they've read for. Literally, they've read 2 sentences on Twitter, and it kind of becomes their whole personality towards a person. So that's shit. That's how the internet works now. And I understand that. So anyway, what do you guys think? I'm excited about the box set. I'm excited about listening to every single song on it. I'm not planning on buying it. However, it's terrible that we don't have that one song in it. And I'm not sure if there's a 2 LP version of the greatest hits of the gig and also the New York City stuff remixed. I would buy that, actually. I would definitely buy that. And what do you guys think about the song controversy, about the box set, about John himself as a person? Do you really think, like me, do you agree with me that he's kind of had a redemption arc? And anyway, please let me know. All right, thank you guys so much. I'll see you later. I'll see you on the next one.